We're almost at the end of 2024 and things are only getting weirder. Let's watch.
Just when you think you've heard it all, you hear that they're making your meat out of feces now.
They just made meat from your number two. Japanese scientists have developed a method to create edible steaks from human feces. Unbelievable? Well, it's happening. Mitsuyuki Aikida, a researcher at the Okayama laboratory, collaborated with Tokyo Sewage to address sewage mud excess. They discovered the content in the mud contains high protein due to bacteria. So, the team isolated and combined these proteins with a reaction enhancer. Result? Synthetic steak. The meat comprises of 63% protein, 25% carbs, 3% lipids, and 9% minerals. And it's visually enhanced with food coloring for a red hue and improved flavor using soy protein.
Ask me if you're even surprised. When they came out with the lab meat, they tell you it's protein. Protein is protein. People come up to my comment section all the time, tell me I don't know science, that chemicals are chemicals and protein is protein. If that's the case, enjoy it. I'm not going to eat it. You choose what goes in your body. You choose to be a scientist or not. The choice is simply up to you.
Where was that at again? China? They better not bring that over here. They better not.
And the people gave me a large fry by accident, and I didn't want them because I don't eat that stuff or whatever. So I threw it to the birds when I came home. I come back like almost just about 15 hours later or whatever, approximately. I don't know. I'm bad with math. Don't charge it to my heart. Charge it to my head. Charge it to my heart. But I come out here and not one single fry that they gave us is gone. Not one single fry. And then if you look close, there's a bunch of black ants on them. The black ants are stiff. They're dead. They're not even moving. So it seems as if they attempted to eat the fries, but in the midst of it, they died.
So birds will not eat the fries. The ants that did died. Yet people are still consuming this and putting this in their bodies.
Uber will charge you more money if your battery level is low on your phone.
Are you serious?
Yes. Means you're desperate, you're probably stranded somewhere,
Oh my
you need to
God.
go home, you're like, I gotta get an Uber. It's all in an investigation.
Dude, every time I was out at a bar, I'm like, I have like 16%. I have to get this, I have to
Yeah.
get. So you're right. I don't care
I know,
about
he's
the
like,
price.
I need to go home. Imagine you're a girl, you're in a bar, I'm like, dude, this guy is being creepy. I want to get it out of
Oh yeah,
here.
you'll pay 3 times the
Or
price.
you're like, I think this neighborhood is not safe. I think I'm gonna get jumped very soon.
The fact that now I have to think about the battery life on my phone before I call an Uber is crazy. Y'all make sure you keep your cell phone charged up. Oh, you gonna get charged extra for this Uber ride. What kind of mess? Who thought of that? Who over there at Uber do we need to talk to?
Tesla had just shocked the world by giving us something that Apple couldn't. Excitement. Last night, they rented out the entire Warner Bros. Studio in LA to introduce their new cyber taxi robo-van, and they even had Optimi, walking among us and serving people at the bar. They are literally recreating the iRobot movie in real life, but apparently a good version, I pray. So they call the event We Robot. You see, Tesla are trying to fundamentally change transport as we know it. Imagine owning a fully self-driving sub $30,000 car, where when you are not using it, it could be out there making you money by giving other people lifts. And if that is the case, not only does suddenly everyone's car become useful in those 94% of hours where it's just sat there on people's drive like a useless chunk of metal, but also you get your own time back, because whatever hours you used to spend driving, you can now go back to sleep and wake up at your destination, watch movies, or even work. And Tesla believed that this individualized mass transit could drastically reduce transportation costs, claiming that the cyber taxi would be 80% cheaper per mile than the bus. Elon believes that the same way we don't even think about elevators not having someone to operate them anymore, it'll be the same for cars. Taxi drivers would transform into taxi managers and just supervise a fleet of these things. And the consequences of cars actually becoming more useful, transport would be cheaper, cities would be cleaner, and he says we could even take the lots out of parking lots and just return them back to beautiful green parks. And that, along with the bus version of the driverless taxis and the Optimus robots, which Elon believes will become the biggest product ever of any kind. He said basically anyone will be able to have any products or services that they want. It will be an age of abundance, the likes of which people have never envisioned. He says the cyber taxis will go into production before 2027. So the question is, could Tesla actually pull this off, or are they making promises that they just can't keep?
I'm gonna say it. They making promises that they just can't keep, because where's the Roadster? I was waiting on that to come out. That's the car that I wanted. That car that goes 0 to 60 in like 1.6 seconds, something crazy, 1.5. I don't know how fast it was, but that's what I wanted. And that car looked kind of like the Roadster, but not the Roadster. I don't like where the future is headed. It's getting real weird. Very weird. I want to see more about these iRobots they got. I like his shoes though, the robot.
Optimus. It's insane. It's even talking.
Hi to my friend John. John? Where's John?
Right here.
Oh, hello, John.
How are you?
How you doing?
That's crazy. I'm talking to a robot. From San Jose. Probably from where you were born in Silicon Valley.
Wonderful. Where do you live in San Jose? Do you live in Mountain Valley, or do you live in Santa Teresa area?
No, I live in Los Gatos.
Los Gatos. Oh, wonderful. Very
Yeah.
nice area.
Where do you live?
Beautiful hiking I hear out there.
There is. Where do you live?
I live in Palo Alto at the current moment.
Figures. Yeah, this is awesome.
That's where they train us. That's where we get our builds, and that's where we work with a wonderful group of people.
What's the hardest thing about being a robot?
Trying to learn how to be as human as you guys are. That's something I try harder to do every day, and I hope that you will help us become that.
Well, awesome. Nice to meet you, Optimus.
You as well.
I don't like that response. The man asked, what's the hardest thing about being a robot? The robot gonna respond, trying to become more human like you. What? Nah. Like, how you gonna put this robot into production and it's saying stuff like this? Y'all must want it to take over.
We are in the eye of Hurricane Milton right now. Again, this is a storm that has now made landfall, and look what's going on. Nothing. The trees are barely moving. There's basically just a light breeze, no rain, and actually I'm hearing birds chirping. I'm going to stop talking so you can hear it. You can also hear cars in the background because people are, it seems, doing donuts out there. And by the way, being on the roads right now, terrible idea, because we're expecting the gnarliest part of this for us here in Sarasota on the back end of the storm as it makes its way inland. So for people in the area, do not go outside. Do not venture from your sheltering location, because, again, this is really just the beginning. But this just speaks to the remarkable thing that happens during a hurricane.
Hurricane Milton was so massive that in the heart of the hurricane, it was calm. It was calm. They were expecting for something to come, but they had to wait for it to come on the back end. Wow. These don't even look like buried cars. These look like freaking sandcastle cars. Wow. So many people lost their homes and their possessions, cars, everything. Take this time to let you all know that from now to the end of November, I'll be donating a percentage of all the sales off my website to the organizations and charities that are in aid to helping the victims of these recent hurricanes, from Florida to Tennessee to South Carolina and here in Georgia. Just know that with every order that you place on the website, a percentage of it will be going to helping the victims and families of Hurricane Helena, and Hurricane Milton. Now back to your video.
Alright guys, this is Elliot Todd coming back with the storm surge from Hurricane Milton. And as you can see, I am in waist deep water. The beach is a mile that direction, which means that the ocean is coming up. Now follow me. Go, cameraman. Take a look at this bridge right here and the backyards of all these homes. The water is going to come up for another 4 to 5 hours, and we are already seeing these levels. I hope all of these boats and jet skis are tied down, or else I'm about to have a fleet. All right, stay with me. We're going to try and stay dry.
Try to stay dry. You already was in the water. Why is it that people like this refuse to leave when they clearly state the importance of evacuating? I hope they're not doing this for clout.
This is a shipping port in China where there's not a single worker on the ground. People inside on computers unload ships using 5G and then place them on autonomous AI vehicles that drive the containers to trucks and load them without any human assistance. In fact, what you are seeing is the first fully automated 5G port in the world. And you might not think it, but this is extremely controversial because partly the reason why 45,000 port workers in the US have gone on strike right now is because they want promises in their contract that these shipping companies will not implement autonomous technologies and threaten their jobs. And this is a really tricky subject because on the one hand, no one wants to put people out of their jobs just so companies can turn a bigger profit. But on the other hand, the Tianjin port in China requires only 25% of the workforce of a traditional port, while also being able to load almost 10 containers more per hour. That equates to about 70,000 more a year. And the workforce they do have are inside in air-conditioned rooms on computers, which is the reason it's also one of the safest and most accident-free ports in the world as well. And to make problems even trickier, this smart port system is currently being prepared to be replicated around the world. But is that the right direction to go in? Let me know what you think.
See what I mean about the direction that our world is going in? It only makes sense that as this stuff, the technology increases and gets better, it just means more and more people are going to be out of work. Yeah, there's going to be people employed that's going to be able to run and operate this stuff, but at the same time, it's going to take so many lesser qualified positions from so many people. It's almost like people need to go back to school so they can study and get some sort of degree in tech.
This is the world's first passenger plane that doesn't have a pilot because it's being flown by AI. What could go wrong? The concept was revealed at the National Business Aviation Association event in Orlando, Florida. And the idea is to create a fully autonomous passenger jet that has similar benefits to self-driving cars. They believe AI could reduce human error, which is the leading cause of accidents, making air travel safer than ever. Because there would be no need for pilots, it could reduce costs. It could improve efficiency and reduce delays because planes could fly 24/7 without needing to rest for crew. And more personalized on-demand flight options could emerge, like Uber for the skies. But then again, you would have to put your complete trust in AI 40,000 feet in the sky. So the question is, should this be made or scrapped immediately?
There is a major breaking news story that's happening right now with a new UFO whistleblower coming forward with details about a report that has already been sent to Congress that outs the program name for the UFO crash retrieval and reverse engineering program, provides details about the massive database of photos and videos, where the program is housed. This is a great story to come out on my first day back. We're just going to dive right in. So the title of the story is Pentagon is illegally hiding secret UFO program from Congress, whistleblowers allege. The first half of the story is really meant to catch up readers who have not been following all of the statements that have been happening over the last 2 to 4 years between what the Pentagon is saying, which is that there's no there, versus what several, not only former government officials, but members of Congress, former CIA directors, former directors of national intelligences. There's a lot in the beginning half of the story, but the meat and bones is about Immaculate Constellation, the alleged program name for the parent UFO crash retrieval and reverse engineering program, which is being revealed for the first time in this article in the public. So we're going to go through this piece by piece. There's some interesting details here we'll cover, and then I'll have some analysis towards the end. So the top line summary here is that Congress is in possession of a report that details in excruciating detail the structure and format of how this crash retrieval program has been operating. Quote, one of the individuals is a current or former U.S. government official acting as a UAP whistleblower. The person has written a report that says that the executive branch has been managing the UAP, Unidentified Anomalous Phenomenon, / NHI, Non-Human Intelligence, issues without congressional knowledge, oversight, or authorization for some time, quite possibly decades. It goes on to say, furthermore, these individuals, plural, have revealed the name of an active and highly secretive DoD unacknowledged special access program. We'll talk about that in a second. The source of the document told the public that the USAP is a strategic intelligence program that is part of the U.S. military's family of long-standing, highly sensitive programs, plural, dealing with various aspects of the UAP problem. That program is named, allegedly, Immaculate Constellation. The article continues, the new UAP whistleblower claims the U.S. military and IC database include videos and images taken using infrared, forward-looking infrared, full motion video, and still photography. The government whistleblower made their claims in a report provided to authorized committees of Congress and their staff. This is likely to be either the Senate Intelligence or Senate Armed Services Committees alongside the House Armed Services, House Intelligence, or potentially either of the Oversight Committees. The whistleblower alleges that the DoD created this program, Immaculate Constellation, in 2017 after the New York Times article that was published that we've talked about a million times on this channel, an article describing the informal UAP study program, which was called ATIP, the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, which was actually an offshoot of OSAP, the Advanced Aerospace Weapon Systems Application Program. Again, we have plenty of videos that talk about that on this channel. The report that was shared with Congress says Immaculate Constellation serves as a central or parent unacknowledged special access program that consolidates observations of UAPs and by both tasked and untasked collection programs, platforms. So the idea is sometimes they're capturing this stuff inadvertently while they're doing other stuff, and other times they're capturing this stuff with the intent of capturing this stuff. This is fascinating. The whistleblower's report includes 7 categories of evidence. It describes in detail various UAP sightings collected by technical assets and U.S. military personnel. The multitude of wavelengths collected by these sensors, the report says, have captured UAP characteristics that are difficult or impossible to observe with the human eye alone. I'm sure that also means it's difficult or impossible to capture with cameras as well. Subtle atmospheric effects associated with UAPs are also visible through the sensors employed by the U.S. military and intelligence agencies. The verifiable chain of custody for UAP IMINT being an acronym for imagery intelligence, or imagery that's captured from intelligence platforms and programs, collected by U.S. military assets, ensures a high level of confidence in the accuracy and integrity of the data gathered. The report concludes that the existence of Immaculate Constellation, I can't believe that's the name, demonstrates the existent capability to detect, quarantine, and transfer UAP, Unidentified Anomalous Phenomenon, and ARV, Alien Reproduction Vehicle collection incidents before they are observed and circulated within the military intelligence enterprise, thus serving as a means of enforcing internal information security. Let's unpack this one sentence for a second.
That's crazy.
So the conclusion of this report that's been provided to multiple committees in Congress, remember, we were just in DC 3 weeks ago talking to some staffers of members on these committees. makes the claim that this program has the capability to detect UAP, to quarantine, to capture, to recover them, and to transfer not only UAP that the implication here means ostensibly are coming from a non-human source, but also alien reproduction vehicles, which is part of this whole claim that we've known this forever and we've been reverse engineering and actually have been successful at it. The allegation is that
I want to show y'all a piece of proof that we've been. Wait a minute, I got this video off of TikTok. How is it 30 minutes long? You can post 30-minute long TikTok videos now? There must be some real good mo information coming from this video. Like I said, I want to show y'all a quick little piece of proof that we all own of this whole reverse engineering. I was told by somebody who know that this is reverse engineered alien technology.
Immaculate Constellation was set up such that before any of this stuff is observed and circulated within the larger military intelligence enterprise, so this is just the larger military industrial complex that everyone talks about, they've set this up so that effectively it captures all of this and squirrels it away before anybody else can figure it out, thus enforcing an informal information security apparatus, which the allegation being that's part of how they've kept control over the information by having this capability. The article goes on, it continues. A former IC official confirmed to public the existence of Immaculate Constellation. Quote, that program is run out of SecDef, the Office of the Secretary of Defense. The person said, they don't want to acknowledge it's real. The same person warned that simply printing the name Immaculate Constellation could trigger government surveillance under the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, or FISA. Some of you may be familiar with FISA after some of the news related to the FISA court and the monitoring of some members of Trump's administration who are in communication with alleged spies from the Russian government. And when you are on a phone or have any association with foreign intelligence officers, you can be inadvertently captured in these surveillance programs. So what this is saying is, if you say Immaculate Constellation, there's an exemption that allows the government to then monitor what you say. They won't comment on it, but talking about it will put you in the danger zone. Oops.
Wow. Wow. Yo, oh, y'all better not talk about it. Y'all ain't never gonna hear me repeat these words. Oh, wait. Is it already too much that I'm putting it in this video and it's on my channel? Oops.
They enforce the secrecy with a lot of vigor. And this dovetails with almost every story we've heard in sort of the modern era around this, where so many of these alleged whistleblowers who are coming forward claim to fear for their lives. And we're hearing this not only from reporters that have been covering the story, but even members of Congress like Senator Marco Rubio, who made that same statement to Joe Khalil at News Nation in an interview about a year or two ago. The article continues. The whistleblower's report said that a significant volume of intelligence reports documenting first-hand encounters with UAPs or UFOs by DoD personnel exists within Defense HUMINT, another acronym for Human Intelligence Databases, accessible to the intelligence community. So these are sort of people, HUMINT being like sort of word of mouth intelligence gathering. So we talked about how there's imagery data in 4 types that exists. There's also sort of human source intelligence data that's accessible to the intelligence community. And this dovetails with, again, what we've been continuing to hear, which is how this has become more of an open secret because a wide swath of people who work in the intelligence community have access to some of these platforms and systems and databases. It continues. Immaculate Constellation includes high-quality imagery intelligence, IMINT, which we just talked about, and measurement and signature intelligence, MASINT. They love their acronyms. What we're saying is people are talking about it. They've said stuff. We're seeing it. We're capturing it with like visual imagery platforms, and we're also measuring it with other device types that are not necessarily forward-looking infrared or optical imagery platforms. The sources of this intelligence are a blend of directed and incidental collection capabilities positioned in low Earth orbit, the upper atmosphere, as well as military and civilian aviation altitudes and maritime environments. This is why, again, there's been sort of this rebrand, allegedly this rebrand from UFOs to UAPs, because they want to cover the all-domain nature of where these are being captured, not only in low Earth orbit, in the upper atmosphere, and, you know, in our sort of lower atmosphere, as well as in and around the surface and under the water. This is why the current public UFO study program is called the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. The article continues. The report to Congress describes in detail various UAPs. Quote, from 1991 to 2022, the most common UAP shapes reported in the U.S. government's data set were spheres and orbs, discs and saucers, ovals and tic-tacs, triangles, boomerang/arrowhead, and irregular/organic, which I have no idea what that means. The report describes various incidents found in these human intelligence databases. So this report that Congress has that is sort of aggregating this intelligence from these multiple different kind of modalities is detailed, and again, allegedly in this report. This would maybe explain why members of Congress have been changing their tune. One of these reports in the human intelligence databases from one of these first 10 witnesses, one involved orbs surrounding and forcing an F-22 out of its patrol area. Quote, the F-22 broke trajectory and attempted to evade, but was intercepted and boxed in by approximately 3 to 6 UAPs, according to the report. I will note, because this has caused a wildfire amongst a lot of people, there are already attempts to get to the flight crew that was involved in that incident, as well as several Freedom of Information Act requests that have already been sent out within just the 6 hours since this has come out. Damn. Quote, one UAP maneuvered in proximity, less than 12 meters, to the area directly starboard of the cockpit. There, the UAP established a rigid spatial relationship with the F-22, maintaining its exact position and orientation parallel with the F-22's cockpit, despite multiple evasive rolls and maneuvers. So if any of you have ever seen those videos where it has like the little piece of, you know, metal or the levitation stuff where it's like locked and you can like send it around this track and it remains kind of in a locked position, that's kind of how they're describing the behavior of these UAPs, which is immensely anomalous for an aerial vehicle platform to be able to, again, maintain its position and orientation with an F-22 that's doing multiple evasive maneuvers. That is an astonishing claim.
Crazy.
That's in this report. That's linking to the sources in these databases. That is falsifiable by members on these committees. Surrounded by the presumed hostile UAPs, the F-22 was forced out of the mission area under the escort of the UAP formation. In another incident, the crew of a Navy aircraft carrier watched a small orange-red sphere rapidly descend from high altitude to 100 to 200 yards directly above the flight deck of the CVN, the aircraft carrier. If you watch some of my previous videos, that sounds very familiar to something I would know a little bit about.
That's crazy.
It's fascinating. The article continues. The UAPs appeared to emit an soft orange-red light, which bizarrely did not illuminate the ocean or the flight deck of the CVN, despite the visual appearance of intense luminosity. The surface of the UAP was observed to be dynamic, roiling like the surface of the sun.
What kind of light are they emitting that is so bright, but yet it doesn't cast a shadow or anything on the water? Like, what kind of light they got?
Again, if you go back to my previous videos, this piece sounds very familiar to me. Now, it goes on to a new section that's titled UAP Disinformation and Disclosure. And it now goes into a little bit of the history that we've covered on this channel about the Pentagon having its own several array of UAP investigations. From 2009 to 2017, there was the OSAP program, which I mentioned earlier, the Advanced Aerospace Weapons System Applications Program, that was run by Dr. Jim Lakatsky, alongside Colm Kelleher. It was a big hubbubaloo and all this stuff. So that ran while Senator Harry Reid was the Senate Majority Leader. We now have a new UFO study program that was stood up called AARO, that was sort of spun out of the UAP task force, which was a task force that was mandated by Congress as Congress was starting to get briefings from Navy pilots in the 2018 to 2020 time period. Now, the CIA's Office of Scientific Intelligence, OSI, this is talking about a declassified Australian government memo, wrote that an Australian military officer acting through the Robertson panel meeting on middle of January 1953 persuaded the U.S. Air Force to use Project Blue Book as a means of publicly debunking UFOs, and at a later stage allocated funds to a variety of these programs. What the article is trying to draw the through line here to is that there's this long history of publicly acknowledged UFO study programs that say that there's nothing to see here, that obfuscate the existence of these waived, unacknowledged special access programs that allegedly have protocols that allow them to get to these situations first and are able to control the information. Now, the article dovetails this with the former head of AARO, who has retired since earlier this year, Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, who had previously disparaged UFO whistleblowers and speculated that a tic-tac shaped UAP, the tic-tac case, the Nimitz case from 2004, that 4 Navy pilots reported had evaded their approach and could have been backyard lighting balloons. That's kind of, again, very reminiscent to the swamp gas explanations that came out of Project Blue Book. The article then goes through a variety of other references of the contemporary story that we've been seeing, touching on the going public of the former head, quote-unquote, head of ATIP, Lou Elizondo. There's a mention of the forthcoming documentary by James Fox called The Program that is coming out hopefully here in the next couple of months, that features a congressional staffer who I have a degree of separation from, Kirk McConnell, who is coming out in this new documentary for the first time, who describes himself having been a congressional staffer, receiving testimony that aligns with what this article talks about. Quote, "We have sources who have asserted not only that there have been crashes, but that there have been crash retrievals," is the quote that has come out from Kirk McConnell so far. The U.S. government appears to know significantly more about UAPs than it is revealing, which is exactly what Chuck Schumer, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, said on the Senate floor in December of last year when the bill that he and Senator Mike Rounds put forth to basically declassify all this information did not make it through into last year's National Defense Authorization Act. The article continues, individuals have told public that many within the DoD, IC, and military contracting community oppose further disclosure. I'm sure there's a variety of reasons why. The legal exposure, the money that they get, no one wants to go to jail. I mean, the whole can of worms, fascinating. In April of this year, the Pentagon released declassified documents showing that a proposed Department of Homeland Security program was intended to take possession of UAPs and attempt to reverse engineer retrieved UAPs if they exist. This is referring to Kona Blue, which did come out earlier this year in official declassified documentation. This is actually one of the programs that the former folks who worked within OSAP and ATIP were trying to work as they moved, trying to move it into Department of Homeland Security. We did a video on Kona Blue previously. It's a really fascinating set of documents if you want to take a look at it. Again, showing a long documentary history around these programs and this subject. While the department's then top scientist advocated for the program and said there was some, quote, very serious science involved with, quote, it, DHS leadership ultimately quashed that proposal, again, which was pushed forth by former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid and former Senator Joe Lieberman. Again, it goes on to continue. It's kind of establishing the larger environment that this report is coming out in. In late September of this year, in an answer to the question, is there actual recovered NHI tech, Harold Malmgren, a former advisor to Presidents JFK, Lyndon B. Johnson, and Richard Nixon, who's also just a prominent economist and has just been at the top of that industry for decades, he said on X/Twitter, quote, the answer is yes, in several different hands, both government and private hands. And he has since made several follow-on comments doubling down on that statement. Again, the article just continues to pile on all of this other stuff that's happening that, again, correlates to this report that was received by Congress. Since 2021, members of Congress have expressed growing frustrations over the military and IC's refusal to reveal concrete information to them. The Intelligence Authorization Act for fiscal year 2025 would continue to cut off funding for any activity involving UFOs protected under any form of special access or restricted access limitation that is not reported to Congress by law. And I just want to take a moment here to kind of take a step back and go to the core issue that is fundamental to this story, which is that this is a unconstitutional structure. The use of waived, unacknowledged special access programs is unconstitutional by definition. Unconstitutional by definition. Whether or not UAP or UAPs are black budget tech that we've had forever or truly represents some form of non-human intelligence is important, but does not fundamentally change the fact that there's an un-American practice taking place right now with the use of unacknowledged special access programs to unilaterally be able to run publicly funded executive branch programs without congressional oversight. That's illegal and unconstitutional. So that is the fundamental issue. From there, if it also proves, which again, it continues to just increase and increase. If it proves that the source of the phenomenon is fundamentally non-human, we have massive other questions to have answered. But at a minimum, there is unconstitutional illegal behavior that is currently occurring that needs to be addressed. And the UAP subject actually just creates an opening for us to get into the world of black budget programs and the national security state and make that argument. At the end of the article, there are a couple of updates for comments that have come out of the Pentagon. The article was written by Michael Schellenberger, who has since done an appearance on Joe Rogan, as well as Reality Check with Ross Coulthart, where he goes into more detail about the context of the story. Maybe we'll do a live here on TikTok to go through that. But Susan Goff, or Susan Go, depending on who you talk to for pronunciation, who is the DoD spokesperson who has sole authority on commenting on the UAP subject, responded at 2:27 Eastern time today. And it should be noted that Schellenberger reached out to the Pentagon with a full description of his article, and he talks about this in his Ross Coulthart interview 5 days before he ultimately published it today, Tuesday, October 8th, and they kept asking for an extension. Ultimately, he published it, and then within hours after publishing, here's what the Pentagon has to say. Quote, to date, the department has found no evidence of the existence of any classified UAP program, including any SAP or controlled access program related to UAP that had not been properly reported to Congress. And then it says, I refer you to the findings of Arrow's historical report, which is available at this website. Should the DoD find anything that revises these findings, we will appropriately share the information promptly with Congress, subject to classification and access limitations, so as to protect sensitive sources and methods. We will also make as much information available to the public as possible. And then the next question is related to, again, this, does the DoD have a unacknowledged special access program called Immaculate Constellation, researching UAPs? They said the DoD has no record, present or historical, of any SAP called Immaculate Constellation. And then the last question is, does the DoD have a database of videos, images taken using infrared, forward-looking infrared, full motion video, or still photography? If there is a database, does it describe in detail various UAP incidents? And the response is, Arrow's files contain all available data related to each UAP case, regardless of modality or classification. I refer you to the Office of the Director of National Intelligence concerning intelligence community databases, which is effectively a non-denial denial. It also should be noted that Chris Sharp over at the Liberation Times received a similar comment from Susan Go and or Goff, and asked for clarification about the difference between a special access program and unacknowledged special access program, and asked, are you saying that you have no record of both types? And she confirmed that their current position is that they have no records of either type, either an unacknowledged special access program or a special access program with the program name Immaculate Constellation. So this is fascinating. I reached out to a variety of people within my network to just get a sense of what people thought. Is it a canary trap? Is it basically someone putting fake information through a source out there to sort of be able to track where the leaks are? Or is this a warning shot? Especially given the sort of struggles that the UAP Disclosure Act has being passed. I've been surprised at the silence as well as the support of the general contours of this article from Michael Schellenberger, who has a spectrum of perspectives of how people feel about the quality of his journalism. What I can say is that people are going after this program and anyone around it very aggressively already. I know several folks who have already submitted FOIA requests, as well as folks who are trying to get access to the same sources that Schellenberger used for this article. So more to come, but this was an unexpected bombshell for my first day back, having access back in my now finally finished studio space. More soon. We're definitely going to follow up on this story.
So Congress was basically saying, well, look, everything that y'all talking about, we're not going to say is a lie, but we don't have any information on it. So does that mean that that term that he used that I dare not say is safe to use? Because I shouldn't have to worry about nobody, right? If Congress don't know about it, then it ain't real, is it? But clearly things were happening that Congress didn't know about. Y'all remember we saw the congressional hearing, the UAP congressional hearing. There's stuff that's going on behind Congress' back, but they want to sit here and try to deny something. Good luck. Good luck. Anyway, leave your thoughts, comments, and opinions down below, and I'm gonna catch y'all in the next one. See ya.